Welcome to Larry's Library. This last Saturday, this last weekend, we went to the Owensboro Comic and Toy Convention. There's the badge for that. But we did Saturday only. And, I was on the fence about whether I was going to go or not. My daughter was trying to talk me into it. And I initially, a month or two ago, I was really excited about this when it got announced because, one of the first people they announced was going to be there was Jim Shooter, which I have Jim Shooter's autograph from before. Kristen got it for me before, but I never got to see him, meet him myself or get anything autographed, in person. So I was excited for that. And, they just kept announcing more people for this as the weeks went on, getting closer to October 7th. And I just kept hoping, well, that they're going to put in more comic creators. And they just kept announcing more and more celebrities, actors, voice actors, anime voice actors, all this kind of stuff. And I just, it's fine if that's your bag, but I just don't care. Wrestlers, I don't care anything about wrestlers. I just, what I really wanted was Heroes Con in my backyard. I say my backyard, I don't live in Kentucky, but I am, literally 15 minutes out from where this con was, maybe 20 minutes. So it was a very short drive for me to get to this. So I just, I kept, I really want Heroes Con in my backyard. I want a bunch of creators, a bunch of the old guys specifically, and not just the old guys, but a lot of them, before they die, I'd like to get their autograph, and it'd be cool to meet them in person. So I had high hopes that they were just going to keep adding more, and they added a few more, but sadly, not a lot. And, I just, I was really bummed about that, and I decided, okay, I'm not going. But Kristen kept trying to talk me into it, and she finally succeeded. And I decided, we would do it. So I did. I bought Saturday tickets for me and my wife, and we met Kristen out there at the con, where her husband Reed was set up with his table. He is a comic book creator. If you haven't checked out his stuff, I'll put a link in the description. You should check out his stuff. Some of it's really good. He was set up at a table there selling his stuff, and I think he did pretty good. He was busy a lot of times when we walked by there. But anyway, we got in there. We met Kristen out there, and she walked around with us for a lot of it. Definitely checking out all the vendors. She walked around with us there, and she got us started with the autographs. Help me find them where they were, and then she kind of walked away when we got in the Jim Shooter line because it was kind of long. It wasn't super long, but it was very slow because his plane was late and he wasn't actually there yet. So the table was sitting there empty. It was a Jim Shooter, no Jim Shooter. But so the plane was delayed. So I was a little worried about that, but he did finally show. Anyway, so I did get several autographs, and I will show scans of those. And I got a couple of prints, more prints to put on the wall. And I have a stack from the last time that Kristen got me some prints that I still haven't framed yet. So I've got to buy frames. So I don't have any of these on the wall yet. I'll try to get a couple of shots of the two prints I got, just laying on a table, or maybe I'll hold them. I haven't decided yet, but you'll see something here. I'll show them. So let's see. I think the first one I got was Phil Hester. Now, Phil Hester's known for a lot of things. He's known for doing the Kevin Smith Green Arrow. He worked on that. He's worked on a lot of stuff. But one thing I had that I really loved he did was the Daredevil Magdalena one-shot crossover thing. And so he did the interior pencils and he did the cover. He did the cover pencil layouts. And then Stepchick, I'm not sure how to say that name. I should have looked that up, but I failed. I was trying to get this video out in time to put it up Monday, and so I had to hurry. So forgive me for not knowing how to pronounce that. But he painted. I asked Phil Hester when I got his autograph. He was a super nice guy too, really cool dude. And I asked him how that worked. Did he pencil that and then Stepchick painted it? And he said, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Stepchick colored it over his pencils. Beautiful cover, love it. And he autographed that for me. Just a nice guy. Pleasure to deal with. Here's the thing too. When I first, let me backtrack a little bit. When I first got to this con, just trying to find a parking space, I was over it. I was like, okay, I'm done. I've dreamed about going to these conventions, because I hadn't been to one, I think, since 2005, I think, may have been the last one I went to. And just trying to find a parking space was a nightmare. It was horrible. We ended up parking like, 4 or 5 blocks away in front of some business, but it was on the street, and that kind of bothered me. I didn't like doing that, but and at that point I was so stressed out. I told my wife, I'm like, I'm done. I don't even want to go to conventions. I'm over it at this point. But we'd already paid, so it's like, okay, we're gonna go do this one because we already paid. And Kristen was waiting on us. We told her we'd meet her there. So, but but once I got in there and I got the first autograph, and it was great. It was really nice. It was a fun time, and I gotta say, we didn't run into any rude people at all. Now we were only there about 4 hours, so maybe if we'd stayed longer, we'd have got some rudeness. But there was a lot of crowds, and I'm not a fan of crowds. I'm kind of like Omnidog in that I like being away from the crowds, but it wasn't bad. It actually was pretty fun. It just seemed like a lot of people happy to be there and to see the things that they love. So, we didn't run into a single rude person, including the creators I talked to were all just super nice. Even Jim Shooter, which he has a rep for being either way, but he was great. But I digress. I'm trying to tell them in order. So like I said, I got Phil Hester's autograph there. And then I think, and I may have the order wrong, but I think the next one I got was Bob Hall. Now, Bob Hall is an older fellow. He was a Marvel artist for a long time. I think he edited some books at Marvel for a while. And I brought a Thor issue 330 and I had him sign that cover because he drew the inside and he drew the cover. And I always liked that story. I liked that issue. So I had him sign that. And he was just wonderful. He was what a sweet guy. Just really, really cool dude. So that was very positive. And I got to meet Kyle Stark, a friend of Kristen's, friend of Kristen Reed's. They've known him for a while. And I had his autograph before because Kristen got it for me. But I brought one of my Rick and Morty deluxes and I had him sign that. And he drew a cool, I'll show the scan. But yeah, that is fantastic. I'm so happy to get that. I also picked up one of his Peacemaker issues. My wife wanted to read that. I mean, I'll read it too, but she's like, let's just get that too. I'm like, okay, cool. So he signed that. I chatted with him for a bit. He was just a nice guy also. Just very cool dude. So that was nice. And so I think we got in the Jim Shooter line. And like I said, that was a little dicey because he wasn't there yet. Oh, shit, how's this going to go down? Because we had a limited amount of time for one thing. And I wanted to go to his panel as well, which we ended up doing that. But before I get to that, finally he arrives. And I tell you, Jim Shooter, growing up when I did and getting into comics when I did in the late 70s, specifically Marvel is mainly what I was into. I seen Jim Shooter's name all over everything, So I was a fan of the guy. And then later, I read Comics Journal interviews with artists, where they were like, oh, he's a hard ass, he's a hard back. And just a lot of the creators of that time had some bad feelings about Jim Shooter. And I think Jim Shooter's side of it was, well, these people had just been late with everything, and he had to right that ship that had gone the wrong way when he took over. So he ruffled some feathers, during his time as editor-in-chief at Marvel. But he saved Marvel in many ways, because some of the greatest stuff was during Jim Shooter's reign, But anyway, I remember seeing caricatures of him in bullpen bulletins and other places in Marvel Comics, and it always showed him as this very, very tall guy, just this imposing figure. And it was not an exaggeration. He is a big dude. I don't know what his exact height is, but he looks to be 6'5" or better, big guy. But yeah, I had him sign Secret Wars issue 8, the Spider-Man black suit cover, which Kristen had already had my exec sign that for me. So now I've got two signatures on that. I've got the artist and the writer. I'm really happy about that. So I'm glad I did that. And while I was in line there and having him sign it, we chatted a little bit. He talked about which it was a conversation started with the person in front of me, and then I continued it while I got my stuff autographed. When I got my that issue of Secret Wars autographed, he was talking about the Peter Parker Mary Jane marriage and how that came about, which I had heard that story before, but not told directly from the man himself. So that was really cool. It was awesome. And when I got up there, I said, how do you feel about them undoing the marriage? Do you hate that they did that? And he's like, yeah, I don't care for that kind of retconning. That was his direct response to me on that. But he was very, very nice. I had no issue with him. I thought he was great. He seemed really happy to be there and to be doing what he was doing. I think I got some pictures I'll run in here to and show you. But so that was cool. And then we looked at all the vendor stuff. I didn't really see much I needed there. I got a Witcher figure that I didn't have, action figure. And I got a pretty good price on that. And seen a lot of interesting stuff, but nothing I really needed. But that's cool. There was probably 4 or 5 vendors selling single issues, but I'm not really after any now. I completed pretty much all the single runs I wanted to complete. So I didn't look at them. Did not see any old price guides. I was hoping I would see somebody selling some price guides so I could fill in my collection there, but I didn't see a single one anywhere there. So that was a little disappointing. But, what are you going to do? But, so we walked around, looked at the vendor stuff with Kristen. That was fun. And then we had to ask some people how to get to where the Jim Shooter panel was going to be. And overall, it was ran really well, I thought. It could have done maybe with some signs pointing to the different things. That'd be my only real criticism, probably of the venue and how they put it on. But the venue was lovely. It was a really nice place. And like I said, we didn't run into a single sourpuss, not a single jerk did we clash with. So that was awesome. Really good. But we, after climbing several flights of stairs, which was a little much for an old dude, but we got we got in the Jim Shooter Hall, in the hall where they were having that Q&A, and we got in there, and it wasn't a really big crowd, which was nice for me. Hopefully, though, that smallish crowd that was there is not going to dissuade Shooter or other people of his caliber from coming to next year's, because I definitely want to go to next year's, especially if they have anybody near as good as Shooter was. Because during his Q&A, he told some awesome stories, some stuff that I had heard before and some stuff that I had never heard. Like, I didn't know that Jim Shooter was friends with George Romero, the famous director that I love too. He was great friends with him. They even worked on a script together on a project that never got off the ground. It never happened, but he met with him several times, and they had this plan to do this film together. That's pretty neat, and I did not have any idea that was a thing. So that was a cool story. He talked about maybe 40, 45 minutes total, and he was great, and I was up nice and close. I actually didn't ask a question in there because I just didn't have anything prepared. I should have, but I didn't this time. I had talked to him, down below at his table when he was signing, but I didn't ask anything in the Q&A. But it was really fun. And he talked about how when he took over Marvel in the late 70s, there was all kinds of fraudulent behavior and just out-and-out stealing going on that he had to clamp down on. He told the story of one staffer, a secretary, who was in charge of subscriptions. And some people would, back then, tape coins and put money, actual currency, in the envelope to pay for their subs. And she was just taking that stuff and pocketing it. Now, if they sent a check or money order, she was processing that the normal way. But the company was losing money because she's pocketing all this cash. And that was just one way. And there was another guy, another staffer, was moving from one state to another. And he was bringing his personal book collection in there, so many books at a time, and shipping them out on Marvel's dime. He was using the Marvel shipping department and saying that it was official Marvel business. The guy was moving his stuff that way. So Shooter ended up firing that guy too. So he had a clean house. There was just a lot of fraudulent stuff going on, from little stuff like that to larger things that he discovered. So that made him a bad guy in some people's eyes, but, the company could not, it was going down. They couldn't keep going like that with all that fraudulent activity going on. So that was an eye-opening story right there. He also mentioned how Roy Thomas saved Marvel, because Marvel was going down, and Roy saved them by getting that Star Wars license through, which he secured that license early on, before the Star Wars movie blew up, before it even was shown, Roy got that license deal. And Jim Shooter says that the sales of the Star Wars comics, the first Star Wars comics, actually saved Marvel from going down the tubes. And I did not know that. I mean, I knew it was a big deal, but I didn't know the extent of it until I heard it straight from Jim Shooter. So I hope you liked hearing a little bit about this, and it was a fun time. And I'm glad I went, and I will definitely go back next time, especially if we have some comic creators. I mean, I'm not going to go back if there's none. But if we have 2 or 3 like this time or more, I'll for sure be there. And yeah, so I'm glad I went. It was a fun time, and I will definitely do it again. So hope you liked hearing about this and seeing my new signatures that I collected myself this time. And if you like this, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. And come back for more.